Okay, we are on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 27a. What we've been discussing is the question of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that the time to say Shachrit is until 4 hours into the day. And the Gemara's question was, what does it mean 4 hours into the day? Does it mean till the end of 4 hours into the day, or does it mean to the beginning of the fourth hour? That was the question when Rabbi Yehuda says until 4 hours into the day. And as the Gemara said, it's where does he get the 4 hours? Because he connects it to the Karban. The Karban Tamid in the morning, every morning there was a mitzvah to bring a Karban. Every afternoon there was a mitzvah to bring a Karban. So now, and we said, the Gemara said that the prayers are connected, corresponding to the Karban. So what was the time that they brought the Karban? So Rabbi Yehuda says they brought the Karban until 4 hours. What does it mean, until the beginning of the fourth hour? Or does it mean to the end of the fourth hour? That is the question. So the Gemara yesterday proved that when Rabbi Yehuda says fourth hour, the Gemara says it means to the end of the fourth hour. That's what the Gemara proved yesterday, and that's what we're continuing. We're continuing today. Let me just send to the group. Morning, Ben. Ben, was it already, is the group notified? Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. No one's saying they're having trouble getting on, right? No one. Anybody report they're having trouble getting on? You want to see if you could get on? Because, oh yeah, I see Shmuel Ravis coming on. Yeah. Okay. All right. We are on. Morning, Shmuel. How are you?
Boker Tov, Boker Tov.
Boker Tov. Boker Tov. Okay, we are on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 27a. And we're going to have a very interesting Gemara coming up. The Gemara says the following. Amar Rav Nachman. Morning, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Rabbi. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Boker Tov. Thank you.
Boker Tov, Mike.
Mike, Shmuel Ray from Woodstock is saying Boker Tov to you.
Hi, Mike.
Mike, are you able to hear? I don't think he's able to hear.
I think it's frozen. The picture is frozen.
Yes, his picture is frozen. Yes. Okay. Hopefully his picture will unfreeze very soon. Okay. We have a lot of people joining in. Thank God. Okay, Mike, you able to hear me?
No, yes, I was disconnected for a little bit of time, so I couldn't hear. Good morning,
Right.
Shmuel.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Very good.
Okay.
Guys, you want to see something? Now
Yes.
there is not too many people on the screen, so I'll show you. We're in the desert in Morocco.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes,
Look at
tonight, everybody should light a candle because
And
it's
also
Yudalet Shvat, and it's the Hilula of Rabbi Yitzchak Abu Chatzera.
Oh, wow. Very
so
good.
That's why we're here.
Okay, very good.
You came just for a visit or like a business trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for Rabbi Yitzchak Abu Chatzera. He's the son of Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera.
Very holy
Rabbi,
people.
he wrote 7 books. So I have to try to get my hands on a couple of them that his grandson published, and I have to try Bliner to give you one.
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay,
Voila.
I think
So
his father wrote the Abir Yaakov. His father wrote a very, I saw it in the shul, nice like 5 volume set on the Parsha. A beautiful,
exactly, it's called Pituche Chotam, and he also did
Right, right.
Machsaf Lavan, 2 different set of
Have you heard
books.
of the Sanford Synagogue in Manhattan?
beautiful.
Edmund
Okay,
Sanford.
Wow.
Mike, it's beautiful
But
that you
Rabbi,
went.
we don't miss 8:30 with our Rabbi.
Okay, that's really beautiful, Mike. Okay, it should be very matzliach. First of all, Mike, have us all in mind when you pray by the kever of Rabbi Yitzchak Abuchatzer. Have everybody in mind.
I will Bliner there. Yes, I will
Okay,
Bliner there.
okay, okay. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Rabbi Yitzchak Abuchatzer will be very proud of you, Mike. You come and you learn and we're proud of the whole group. So the Gemara says
Hey,
the
it's amazing.
Thank you.
The Gemara says Amar Rav Nachman Af Anan Nami Tanina. Rav Nachman says, yeah, we have a Mishnah that says that Rabbi Yehuda says that the window to pray Shachrit is until the end of the 4th hour. Where is the Mishnah?
Where are we, Rabbi, please?
We are on Chav Zayin Amar Aleph, 27a. 27a. The Torah that we're learning right now is in Morocco. Right now, as we speak, it's going right to Morocco. That's really beautiful. We're bringing Torah to Morocco. Amar Rav Nachman, Afana Nami Tanina. And by the way, it's only because of the merit of the whole group that the Torah is coming to Morocco. It's not because we
That's
all
right.
get together. Amar Rav Nachman,
Rabbi, I have a question really quick, and then we jump back on. I was thinking about you because yesterday I had my Talit Katan a little bit off without paying attention, and then right away I thought about the Gemara that we learned, and I stuck it in from because it's in a cemetery. I was in a different cemetery.
Right.
Can you hear me, Rabbi?
Yeah, I
I was
hear you.
in a
Yes.
different cemetery, and I was thinking 2 things. I was thinking, first of all, there's like, it's a big tzaddik. That's my question number 1. And my question number 2 was, can we learn Torah next to a tzaddik, next to the kever of a tzaddik? Or like do shnai mikra ve'achat targum, or do chok leIsrael next to the kever? Can we?
It's a good question. Logically, I mean, the same way we don't want to embarrass by wearing tzitzit out in front of the tzaddik, because the tzaddik is not able to, because the people in the cemetery cannot wear tzitzit.
Do mitzvot.
So therefore, logically, it would sound like you should not learn Torah over there. But there is such a concept that when, out of honor for the person who passed away, they made a yeshiva al kivro. There is that could be that they might have learned maybe a certain amount of amot away from the kever. But there was a concept that we find, so we have to check that up, how to answer the fact that sometimes they would make, but it could be there they did it as out of kavod for the person, and they came near the kever, maybe not exactly so close, but that's a good point. But generally we should not. I don't think we should take out a Gemara and study Gemara next to his place. We also, what I would say is, I think you're not supposed to, don't pray at mincha right next to the kever. Like, you have to go a little away. What I would recall, not to play mincha. Well, I didn't hear your first question because your first question was frozen.
I think you answered my first question in the second question. Was that the Talit Katan next to a tzaddik versus in the cemetery, and
Right,
that was it. I guess it's both.
Right. You should not. If the tzaddik passed away, he's there. You should not have. You should have the Talit Katan should be tucked inside over there.
Got it, Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Okay. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava Hayid. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava testified chamisha dvarim. He testified five. He said five things. He had five things to testify about. Five different cases. Mike, we're on Chav Zayin Amar Aleph. We're about 6 lines before the wide lines. The first word the right is Bava. Rehuda ben Bava. Heyid chamisha dvarim. Shema manines aktana. We encourage a minor woman to refuse her husband. What does that mean? So Rashi explains. On a Torah level, a girl who's under 12, the only way she could get married if the father accepts the Kiddushin on her behalf. Because she's a minor, her father is the only one who has the ability to marry her off to someone and accept the money. If her father died before she was 12, the rabbis instituted an allowance that we can make some sort of kiddushin, some sort of marriage for her, even though on a Torah level she cannot get married because she's under 12. But the rabbis wanted to give her the opportunity that she shouldn't be free, so to speak, and because there was a concern that if she's not married, maybe she might do certain things that are inappropriate. So they gave her that ability to get married. That the brother and the mother, they would marry her off to somebody, and that's a takanas rabbanan. It's an amazing thing. They were afraid. What were they afraid? She shouldn't lead an immoral life, and they gave her the ability to get married. And the rabbi said that if she wants to get out of this marriage, generally, to get out of a marriage, you need a woman, a person has to, the husband has to give the wife a get. A get is a special document, it's written on parchment, special halachot. That's the only way the lady can, there's 2 ways for a lady to get out from her husband, the Mishnah says. One Yosef Atzadik. The 2 ways to get out. One way is with a get, and one way is chas v'shalom, when the husband after 120, when the husband passes away. But this woman who got married as a ketana, as a minor, they did not require such a high level that there should be a get. Rather, they said she could go ahead and she could refuse. I would presume she goes in front of a bezdin. We have to see whatever the halachot are. She has to go and say whether she has to refuse from 2 people, 3 people. We have to see whatever the details are. And she says, I refuse my husband. I don't want my husband. And that will do the trick. As a result of that, that's tantamount, that's equal to like getting a get for this minor.
Why, Rabbi?
Yes.
That means she cannot go later on in life and marry a Kohen?
So that's a good question. From the way it would sound like, from Rashi, it sounds like that the marriage, when she refuses, it uproots it retroactively, and therefore, based on the way Rashi is saying, it could be, the logic would say it's as if she wasn't married. That's how Rashi understands. So if she wasn't married, so she should be able to marry a Kohen. That's what it should be. But we'd have to look up in the halacha, because look how the Rashi explains over here in the Gemara over here. What's the case over here? Now, in general, if the lady decides she wants to refuse, she could refuse. But here, we encourage her that she should refuse. Why do we encourage her to refuse? Because what's the case that we're going to encourage her to refuse? The following is the case. There's something called yibum. Yibum is if there's 2 brothers and one brother dies without any children, and he was married, so the wife that he was married to falls to yibum to his brother, and his brother has a mitzvah to marry her, right? That's the mitzvah of yibum. But what happens if we had 2 brothers were married to 2 sisters, okay? And one sister was an adult, was over 12, and one sister, have a great day, Ben. And one sister was a minor. meaning and a minor that was married not through her father, so it wasn't a kedushin that had a validity on a Torah level. It was a minor that was married to her brother and her mother because her father had died while she was a minor, and the brother and the mother married her off. So now the husband of the older girl died without any children. Okay, so the husband of the older girl died without any children, and she fell to Yibum. So this girl fell to the other brother. Okay, we have two brothers, two sisters, right? So if you have two brothers, Moni Akiva, if you have two brothers and two sisters, so now the general and this brother, one of the brothers died. Which brother? And they were married to sisters. One sister was married to one sister. Marriage had a validity on a Torah level because she was an adult. She was and one sister was married rabbinically because she was only a katana. She was a minor whose father was not alive, and the brother and the mother married her off. Now, so Rashi explained. What do you say?
What page? What page are we at?
We're on page Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 27a. Now, in general, if you have two sisters, if someone has two sisters, if there's two sisters married to two brothers, and one of the brothers, let's say they're both adults, and that both marriages are on a Torah level, and one brother dies, and now it's the wife's sister falls to Yibum. There's no mitzvah of Yibum in that case. Why? Because you can't marry, because it's two sisters. The Torah says you can't marry two sisters. So if his brother died, two brothers are married to sisters, and one brother died, the wife there's no mitzvah Yibum on that wife, because since he's his wife's sister, he does not do the mitzvah Yibum. But in this case, what's unique in this case, the husband of the older girl died, and now this older girl fell to Yibum is really on a Torah level is supposed to be married by the brother, because even though the brother is married to the younger sister, but the marriage to that younger sister that the brother's married to is on a rabbinic level. It's a marriage. On a Torah level, they're not married. So really, let's say you have Ruvain and you have Shimon, and you have Ruvain and Shimon, and they married two sisters, and Ruvain was married to the older sister, and Ruvain passed away, and now the sister falls to Shimon, and Shimon has a mitzvah of Yibum. But the problem is, now since Shimon is married to this older sister, younger sister, and the marriage is only on a rabbinic level, so now we have a situation, because what Rashi explains, the fact that Ruvain passed away and Ruvain's wife now falls to Yibum to Shimon, that will make Shimon's wife would now on a Torah level be forbidden to Shimon, because really on a Torah level Shimon's wife is not married to him. It's only on a rabbinic level. And now Shimon, now that Ruvain's wife falls to Shimon, so now Shimon's wife is a sister of someone who has fallen to him. Since Shimon's wife is a sister of a woman that has now connected to Shimon because it was Ruvain's wife, so now it comes out that Shimon will be forbidden to his wife. So what do? We tell his wife, we tell his wife, we tell Shimon's wife, who was married only on a rabbinic level, we tell her, refuse your husband, and therefore your marriage will be uprooted retroactively. And now your Shimon will be able to do Yibum on Reuven's wife. So it's a little complicated, but the bottom line is that we want to facilitate and create a situation that a person can fulfill the mitzvah min Torah, Moni Ariel, of Yibum. And because of this uniqueness of the situation, that there were two sisters, and one was older, one's marriage was a Torah marriage, one was a rabbinic marriage, and we want to allow this person to fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum on a Torah level, so we're going to encourage something over here. We're going to encourage the woman to refuse her husband. Is that clear? Anybody coming in the middle, you have to know. A lady cannot leave a marriage unless she gets a get, unless the husband gives her a Torah bill of divorce. It's called a get. But there's a situation that if a woman got married, not as a minor and not from her father, but through her brother or her mother married her off, the rabbis, since the whole marriage was valid at a rabbinic level, the rabbis made it easy for the woman to get out of that marriage. And therefore, but in this case, we're actually in order to facilitate the mitzvah of Yibum on this interesting case, they encourage the woman to refuse her husband. Therefore, she'll be out of that marriage retroactively, and therefore then now her husband can fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum to marry his brother's wife. That's the point over here. The second point is that you could marry a woman. What happened was the husband went overseas, or the husband was away. He went on business, and they don't hear from the husband. And a witness comes and says, your husband died overseas, right? So generally, what do you say? Very good, Ariel, excellent. So if one, generally, you would say you need two witnesses on marriage issues. You need two witnesses to get married. How many witnesses are going to be under the chuppah by Ariel's chuppah when Ariel gets married? Two witnesses. When Akiva gets married, right? It'll be two witnesses. Everybody will have two witnesses. Everybody on the screen who's married had two witnesses under the chuppah. To get married, you need two witnesses. So it's called a davar shebe'erva. Things need two witnesses. Some things in life you only require one witness, right? To slaughter an animal, you need one witness. You're eight echad ne'eman. You slaughter an animal. You don't need two people to slaughter an animal. If you slaughter a chicken, right? No, you need to say it's kosher. One person, you need to say one person. A wife says that she's no longer nida, and she says she went to the mikveh. So she's believed, one person. But certain things require two people, like getting married. You need two people. And now, in order for here, we have a special law because of the aguna, because the rabbis wanted it, that we have a law the following: that if a husband was overseas and there's only one witness says the husband died, so the rabbi said that we're going to allow the woman to get remarried. And when I recall, the question is, what's the reason? Don't we need two witnesses? So there's something called a chazakah. There's another rule, something called a chazakah. And that a woman would be very careful. She's going to go marry another man as a result of the testimony of this woman, of this witness. She knows if her husband comes back, what will happen? She will now be forbidden to both her first husband and the new guy. So she's going to be extra careful to make sure to verify the story, and therefore I think that's the reason. Yeah, it's okay. There is sometimes there is such an issue that sometimes the woman doesn't get along with their mother-in-law, but our job is to make sure to get along with the mother-in-law. A lot of people fail in that. It's very common. Yes, yes, yes. There's this there is this concept that maybe sometimes the mother-in-law's out to get sometimes the son-in-law, but. Right. I see what you said. Very good. Brachot, brachot. And but to here, there's a special reason. The Gemara doesn't go into the reason, but there is a special reason why we would allow, even though there's only one witness saying, and that's the chidush, and that's why we need that's a chidush that you're going to allow the woman to get remarried, even though there's only one witness that her husband died. The third halacha. Al Tanagosha Niskal Yerushalayim Al Shaharagas Nefesh. There was a chicken, and there was a baby, and the chicken poked at the baby's skull, the baby's brain where it was soft, and the chicken killed the baby. What do you do to the chicken? So the law of the Torah is if an animal killed a person, an animal went and gored a person, what do you do to the animal? You stone the animal, the Torah says. You kill the animal that killed the person. So the same thing is that you'll stone the chicken who killed this baby. The fourth halacha was that they testified that, on the Mizbeach, there's, yayin kinisko, right? What did we say? There was nisachim. There was wine that was poured on the Mizbeach with the korbanot. And that wine, it has to be minimum of 40 days old. If it's before 40 days old, then it doesn't have the ability to really intoxicate, and therefore it wouldn't be proper wine to use on the mizbeach. Once it's 40 days old, then you could use that wine on the mizbeach. That was the fourth testimony, and the fifth testimony was al tamid shachar. That's what has to do with us. The korban tamid of the morning korban, shekarev ba'arba sha'ot, that the morning korban, you could bring it in the fourth hour. In the fourth hour. So we see it's not up to the beginning of the fourth hour, it's to the end of the fourth hour. So shmamina, ad bichlal shmamina. So the Gemara concludes that the time period to pray shachrit is till the end of the fourth hour. Amar of Kahana, and that's the halacha, is Rabbi Yehuda. The law follows Rabbi Yehuda that really everyone on the screen and everyone in the world that should be careful of praying shachrit by 4 hours into the day, by the end of the fourth hour. And if not, he said you still pray, you can still pray, but you lost the zman tefillah. Why does the law follow Rabbi Yehuda? We learned in the Bechita. We learned in Mesechus Idias. Idias is considered the choice of the best of the Mishnayot, in a certain sense that it means it's the most choicest, because the halacha follows whatever is said in that Mesechta, that's the halacha. Okay. Now today, as you know, is God bless you. Today is the Pash. This week is Pashas B'Shalach. And today is Tuesday, is the Parshat Haman. It's about we spoke about upstairs, about many people have a segula. Today, on this day, they read the Aliyah from Shlishi to Revi. They read the Psukim twice with the Unkelis or with Rashi. And the idea is because since today, and it's a special segula for Parnasah, because it talks about the man, it talks about the special food that Hashem gave. So how do you like that today, in our Gemara, it talks about the man? How do you like that, Ariel? You like that, Morris? So the Gemara says, Man Tana Laha, Tanan. Who is the author of the following Braita? We have the following V'cham Hashemesh V'nomas, regarding the man that the Jewish people were eating, and they picked it every day. Every day they went to pick the man except on Shabbat. Shabbat, you're not supposed to pick the man. Shabbat, you got a double portion on Friday. That's why we have lechem mishneh. That's why we have to have 2 chalot at the meals on Shabbat, because there was a double portion of man that came out on Friday. And what happened was, the pasuk says that any whatever was left over from the man, it says v'cham hashemesh v'namas. The heat of the sun melted the man. Any man that was left over, it melted. So the Gemara says, what is the time of this that the sun would melt the man? So the Gemara says ba'arba sha'ot. So it says in the Braita, it's the 4th hour in the day. The 4th hour, during the 4th hour of the day, that's the time that the sun would melt the man. So the Gemara says, ba'arba sha'ot, you said it's the 4th hour when the pasuk says the sun melted the man. You said it's the 4th hour of the day. Remember, if the day starts, if it's that classic day of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., so the 4th hour would be between 9 and 10 a.m., right? If sunrise is 6 a.m., the 4th hour would be between 9 and 10. So now, maybe it's the 6th hour in the day where it's much hotter. Maybe, to melt something, you need a certain level of heat to melt something. So maybe it was later in the day. Maybe, how do you know it's the 4th hour in the day? That's when the sun, when the pasuk says the heat of the sun melted the man. Maybe it was the 6th hour of the day. So the Gemara says, Kishu Omer Kechom Hayom. There's a pasuk by Avraham, that Avraham was sitting, Yoshev Petach HaOel Kechom Hayom, when he was sitting looking for guests. You remember, he was looking for guests in Parashat Vayera. He was looking for guests in the heat of the day. It doesn't say Kechom HaShemesh. It says Kechom Hayom. The hot time of the day. The hot day, when is that? Chom Hayom. Harei Shei She'ot Amor. When you talk about Chom Hayom, we know the 6th hour of the day, that's when it's very hot. Even today, you should know, when is the hottest time of the day? They say today from 11 to 3. Sammy said 11 to 2. I thought, okay, but the point from 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is like the 6th hour of the day, right? Because the day, if you start, right, 11 o'clock, if the day is 6 a.m., on that type of day, 11 o'clock is in the 6th hour. So Ha'ani Mekayem V'cham HaShemesh V'namas. Here, by the man, it doesn't say Kechom Hayom. It doesn't say it was the heat of the day that melted the man. It says it was the heat of the sun that melted the man. So that's not the fact that the Torah uses a different terminology is because it's a different time. If it would be the same time, it would say the word Kechom Hayom. It says Kechom HaShemesh. It's talking about Ba'arba Sha'ot. Because at this time, the places that the sun will shine, those places will be hot. But the places that there is shade, where the shade is cool, where there's shade, where the sun is not beating down, 4 hours into the day, where the sun is not beating down, it's cool. So therefore, that's why it says V'cham HaShemesh. When the sun, the heat of the sun specifically, if the sun is beating down on the man, that's what's going to go ahead. And there's the heat of the sun, there's the shade, and that's when the pasuk is saying the man melted. But when it comes to the 6th hour of the day, It's not. Whether it's in all places. It's hot all over. It's not like someone says it's hot because the sun is beating on me. 6 hours in the day, it's sunny all over. So now the Gemara says, Mani. Who is the author of this Braita that says that the melting of the mun was in the fourth hour? Now remember, if the melting of the mun was in the fourth hour, that means they already finished picking. It says Vayilkutu, they picked it Otoba Boker. They picked it in the morning. They picked it in the morning, and now this is what was after they picked. This was left over after they picked. So now you're telling me in the fourth hour of the day is when the picking was already finished, because that's when it melted. So that means they finished picking by the end of the third hour into the day. And you refer to the picking time as boker, as the morning. So now the Gemara says, Mani. Who is the author of this Braita? Lo Rabbi Yehuda, lo Rabbanan. It's not Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbanan. Remember, the question was, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan have an argument. What was the argument of Yehuda and Rabbanan? Until when is it called morning, right? Which hour could you pray Shachrit? As a keves echad taseh baboker, as a keves hasheni taseh ben abayim, right? The pasuk says by the korban tamid, you bring one korban in the morning and one in the afternoon. And there's a machlokas, what's called the morning that you bring it? Is the morning until midday, or is the morning till 4 hours into the day? And here we seem to have a new translation. The morning is not by chatzot. Not the window of morning is not until chatzot. It's not until 4 hours of the day. It's until 3 hours into the day is chatzot. It's called morning. Lo Rabban lo Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda asaf al Berachos nami safru. According to Rabbi Yehuda, till the end of the fourth hour is also morning. So why is it, if it's also morning, so they should have been picking until they should? So why are you telling me they picked it by boker? You're telling me they picked it only, and you only told me they picked it for 3 hours, but you told me it melted in the fourth hour. If according to Rabbi Yehuda, it should have been. So they should have been. It should not have. Let's see the language over here that they say. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have 4. It should be morning to pick up to 4 hours into the day, and if that's the case, so then it should have melted in the 5th hour, not the 4th hour. The Bryce is indicating that it's melting after the morning, and it's called the 4th hour, and it's no longer called boker. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's called morning even in the 4th hour. So they go, and Rabbanan at chasos misafro. According to Rabbanan, you until the midday is called morning, and from the Braita it says that they finish picking after the morning is over by the 4th hour. According to Rabbanan, the morning is not over yet at the 4th hour. Rabbanan holds you have until the whole, as the keves echad is the whole morning until chatzot is called the morning. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, until the end of 4 hours is called the morning. And the Braita seems to indicate that the morning is over after 3 hours, and the 4th hour it's no longer morning, because it says they picked it in the morning. So if it says they picked it in the morning, if the morning is 6 hours in the day, like the Chachamim, so that means it only should have melted after 6 hours into the day. That's the Gemara's point. So the Gemara says, Iba Yisema Rabbi Yehuda, Iba Yisema Rabbanan. We could explain this Braita could fit both like Rabbi Yehuda and both like the Rabbanan. Good morning, Shmuley. How could it be both like Rabbi Yehuda and both like Rabbanan? So the Gemara says the following: Iba Yisema Rabbanan. Really, it can go like Rabbanan. And the Rabbanan said, when the Torah says, "As a keves echad taseh baboker," you bring the korban tamid in the morning. The what's called morning, that we call AM. If I say good morning, When would you say good morning to somebody until? Would you say good morning at 11 o'clock also, 11 a.m.? You might, yes. So according to Chachamim, that's also called morning, the whole morning, and that's also called, the Torah says, bring the korban in the morning, and until chatzot, until noon, that's the Chachamim's opinion. So why by the month only boker? The morning was only up to 3 hours of the day. According to Chachamim, you should have 6 hours. That's called morning. So the Gemara says, because the pasuk says baboker. When it says by the month, it says baboker. It says a double language of boker. Chelkeu l'shnei bekarim. That means it means the baboker means morning. Like if I say morning, I want to see you morning, like early, not the regular boker of 6 hours. Half of that. That means it's referring each part of the morning is the early morning and late morning. The first 3 hours of the day is early morning. Second part of the day is late morning. So by saying baboker, it's referring to that they're gonna go ahead and they picked it the first 3 hours of the day. They picked the month and then it melted after 3 hours of the day. And the second answer to Gemara by Rabbi Yehuda. It could even be like Rabbi Yehuda that says that the morning, when the Torah says you bring the korban in the morning means 4 hours of the day, up to 4 hours of the day after 10 a.m. Let's say today, with the time today, they say Zosman Tefillah is 10:29, let's say, or something like that, right? The other day. That means the morning is over at 10:29 according to Rabbi Yehuda. So why was the morning over earlier by the man? So the Gemara says, Hi boker yetera. It says baboker. The extra boker is saying it's early. They picked it early morning, the early morning, meaning not the full morning time they picked them on, which would have been till the end of the 4th hour. By saying baboker, they picked them on by 3 hours into the day. Lahaktim lo sha'achas. They did it earlier, 1 hour early. So the Gemara says, the Gemara says the Kuli Amamiyah, everybody holds, V'chama shemesh v'nomas. Everybody holds when the sun melted the man is ba'arba shol. Is in the 4th hour in the day, is when the sun melted it. So the Gemara says, my mashma. How do you know it's the 4th hour? Maybe the sun melted it. Where is it indicated it's the 4th hour that the sun melted it? Maybe it's the 3rd hour, the 5th hour, right? How do you know that the melting of the sun was in the 4th hour? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Amar Kro, V'cham hashemesh v'nomas. The pasuk says the heat of the sun melted it, meaning to say the sun is out, and there's also the shade is also out. There's a time. What time of the day is the sun out? And only the sun, where the sun is shining, it's hot. Where the sun is not shining, with the shade, it's not hot. What time of the day is that? What time of the day is the sun hot and the shade giving off a nice shade? When is that? Because that's the Gemara says. That's the 4th hour in the day. The 4th hour in the day, that's the time when the sun gives off heat. Where the sun is shining, it gives off heat. However, there's still places that the sun is not shining, and that will be shady. So that's how we know it's referring to the 4th hour of the day. So that's what the Gemara says. So good morning, Mike. Welcome back. So that's what the Gemara says. So it's amazing. It's not coincidental that today, out of all the days, we have the Gemara that deals with the month. Today's Gemara. A lot of times it happens that God shows you siyata d'shmaya. He gives you like some sort of sign of something unique. That here we're talking about the month upstairs. Today's the Aliyah of Mon, and here the Gemara is talking about the Mon. And Hashem should give us. You hear that, Mike? We hear that, Mike? Did you hear that in Morocco?
I lost you guys in a little.
Yeah, it's a little with a bad connection. We were saying, Mike,
When you said you was
right? We were saying that
you
today,
know that
but I can't hear you clearly. But the Gemara,
the 4 hours.
right, the Gemara is saying they picked them on the first 3 hours into the day. They picked them on the first 3 hours into the day, and after they picked them on 3 hours of the day, the fourth hour it melted. Anything that was left over in the field melted in the fourth hour. And the Gemara was trying to understand, trying to figure out the boker, the morning. What's called morning? When the Torah says you bring the korban tamid in the morning, what's called the morning? We said that's a machloket in the Gemara. Does the morning time they brought the korban, was it through the fourth hour or through the sixth hour, right? The Chacham said you have 6 hours to bring the korban, that's called the morning. And Rabbi Yehuda says you have 4 hours, that's called the morning. And yet by the month, the morning of the month was a different interpretation of morning. Because it says the Torah gave the word boker twice. It indicates that it's not the regular morning that they picked them on. There was an earlier morning. It was 3 hours into the day, they picked them on, not for 4 hours, not 6 hours. It was the first 3 hours of the day, they picked them on. Is that clear?
Yes, Rabbi, that's very clear, and I was following that. But thank you for the summary. It helped me understand better. And at the end, we said the pasuk v'chas. How do we know? I left it. How do we know that it's the 4 hours and not the 6 hours? It's because of the pasuk v'chas hashemesh v'namas.
Right. V'cham hashemesh v'namas. Because the pasuk says the heat of the sun melted the item. Now when you refer to the heat of the sun, you're indicating there's the heat of the sun that's melting. It's specifically when you say it's the heat of the sun, that means the sun is shining on it. But that means that's the time that the sun shines on a specific area. But it's not that it's the heat of the day. There's some time of the day that's called the heat of the day. It's hot. It's whether the sun is shining in this spot or the sun is not shining. It's hot all over, right? At 12 o'clock or whatever at midday, it's hot all over. There's certain places it's hot all over, but there's certain times of the day that it's not hot all over. It's only where the sun is shining it's hot, but other places it's not hot. There's a shade. So the fact that the pasuk says it melted only because the sun was shining on it. So what time of the day is the sun? It's only the shining of the sun that will make it melt. But if it will be a different spot without the sun shining on it, where there's a shade, it would not melt. That's the fourth hour. The fourth hour of the day is a certain amount. The heat it's still early enough in the day that there are places that are not hot. There are places that there's a shade. Take your Mars, but there are places the sun would shine and melt it. That's the fourth hour in the day. That's how we know, because the pasuk says it melted because of the heat of the sun, not because it was hot, that it's hot outside. It's the specific focus of the sun shining on it. And the time of the day that you need the sun to shine on something in order for it to melt, but not that it's going to melt because any spot in the world, any spot in the country that's not the fourth hour. That's what the Gemara says. So I presume they understood that there was 60 minutes. How did it? Yeah, but it could be they were able to see how things moved, or they could look at the level of the. They could approximate the time by looking at where things are. The sun is moving, you could see it if it's starting to go towards the west, and all these and the shades. You look over there, and you're able to figure it out. Sometimes that's why the Gemara says. Sometimes there were cloudy days, and they would make a mistake in the time. So when it's a cloudy day, it's not a clear day, and therefore that's why they would. I think that's one of the reasons why they instituted, we don't eat chametz. The Torah says you have to get rid of the chametz by a certain time. But Erev Pesach, you got to get rid of by chatzot. Right. By noon, you got to get rid of the chametz. But I think the Gemara says, but because of certain cloudy days, you might make a mistake in the time. So they tell you earlier, you got to get rid of the chametz earlier, so you shouldn't come to mix up on the time. I mean, also people have to also be. That's why some explain why mincha, we pray mincha half hour after chatzot. Right?
Rabbi.
Yes.
So, is that mean we have to say the Birkat Aman, the Parashat Aman earlier today also, or we?
No, they don't. No, that they don't. Anytime you say it, it's fine. Anytime you say it. But let's say some want to say why do you pray mincha half hour after chatzot? So some understand that the reason is because they're out of concern. You don't want to play too close. Because if you're going to pray at chatzot, you might be able to make it too early. You might make a mistake. So to leave room for not to make mistakes.
So Rabbi, can you just make it once again clear how we got from a woman that's supposed to get married, but she couldn't get married, to the timing of?
Yes. Thank you, Yosef, for that question. Because we have a Mishnayot, because we're quoting a Mishnah where a rabbi said 5 things, and we only really needed to know about one of the 5 for our purpose, because we were only interested in in one of the 5 that says that you pray, that you bring the korban into the korban tamid. The morning korban was brought in the 4th hour. You're allowed to bring it in the 4th hour, and if you tell me that you brought it within the 4th hour, that's what we needed to know, because that's a very important piece of information for us to teach us that the time of the korban, the morning korban, is up to 4 hours into the day. So that is very important information, because that will indicate if the korban was 4 hours into the day. So therefore, and the prayer corresponds to the korban. Therefore, it would that's why that would prove to us the law of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that you could pray Shachrit, the window of Shachrit, as until 4 hours into the day. That's why we needed that Mishnah. But it happened to be that Mishnah, the rabbi said 5 things in the Mishnah. So we quoted all the 5 things. This was the last of the 5 things that he said. So we didn't skip the first 4 that he said. So we gave the full quote of what the rabbi said. No, right. It was only right. So I presume because we don't skip, we don't. It's not like we wanted to. The rabbi said 5 things. The rabbi says, "I have 5 things." Rabbi Yehuda said, Yehuda ben Bava testified 5 things. So we mentioned the 5 things that he said. We don't go ahead and cut off. We don't say Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava Omer, Tamisha is brought in the 5th hour. That's only part of his statement. Since it's part of a bigger statement, so it's common that the Gemara, remember, everything was done by heart. So you want to keep it in that rhythm. So you don't want to just quote something, a piece of a quote, right? If you make a statement, if Ariel says 5, so I want to say 5. I say I have 5. I want to testify. I saw 5 things, right? Ariel says, I went to the Safra synagogue this morning and I saw 5 things. I saw they did Birkas Kohanim. I saw there was an Aliyah. I saw they said Tehillim. I saw there was a Dvar Torah. I saw there was a Shir, right? So now, if we're going to quote Ariel said there was a Shir for Gemara, but that was only one of the things Ariel said. Ariel said 5 things. It happens to me, I'm only... We could have analyzed all the 5 things that we said, but our Gemara is only different topics. They're all different topics. But since you made... Right. That, Yosef, you hear that? There are 5 different topics. But there was
yes, but I still didn't understand. So why we talk about someone who is young is getting married to begin with? Because I know we're talking about the timing, but
right, Yosef, because That was because the person said testified about 5 things. We have someone's testified 5 things, 5 different topics someone gave testimony about. A person gave testimony. Make believe someone goes to court and he goes in and he testifies. I'm testifying about 5 different cases. So when we quote that quote, we quote the 5 cases that they testified. It happens to be we are only interested in one of the 5 cases, but we're going to mention he said a guy goes to court and on record he said 5 different things. It happens to be we are only interested in the 5th thing that he said.
We can't hear Ariel.
Right. Ariel said you go into a store and they sell the cell phone. He says a computer. He says tomatoes. Now you came in, you wanted tomatoes. Now you're going to he's just listing what he said. He's just saying what he does there. So that's what the point is. Since it was a statement of 5 things. This is a full statement. Someone made a statement, independent statement. There are 5, he testified about 5 laws. A rabbi spoke about 5 different subjects. So now, and we only interested in one of those subjects. But the fact is he made a statement about 5 subjects, so we quote the full quote. We don't just take a piece cut his quote. He made a quote of 5 things. We're interested in one of the 5, but we still quote the full quote that he said. Is that clear?
Kind of, but still.
Okay.
I'm not going to push that topic anymore.
Yeah, but I'm saying, Yosef, remember, they learned by heart. So you want to give the full quote. You don't want to just take a piece of the quote. Right?
No, I understand that they cannot pick up. I just didn't understand how we got to the marriage, if that was one of the pieces.
One of the subjects was marriage. One of the subjects that the rabbi quoted, he spoke about 5 different subjects. He spoke about marrying a woman whose husband was overseas. He spoke about you could use one witness to say that the husband died. He spoke about
so the woman was just another piece on the 5. That it wasn't the subject to begin with.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I understand now. Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, guy. Very good. Beautiful, everybody. What do we see, Michael? Michael, what are you showing a picture of now?
Rabbi, here.
Yeah, was that a picture of something unique you were showing?
Wow, Rabbi, this is on the road to Risani. It's in the desert. Mike.
How are you? Rabbi.
Yes.
That's it. How amazing is it that we mentioned today the man in our Gemara, and today is Parashat Man.
Isn't that amazing?
That's unbelievable.
Right. Beautiful. We see the hashgacha pratit. We see the hashgacha pratit. We see, we have to just open our eyes to see how Hashem helps us. It's habol l'taheh misayenoto. If you come to do good things, Hashem helps you. We all came today to learn Torah, right, Ariel? Yep. And everybody, Akiva, right? Yosef, and you know what?
Mike, where are you?
In Morocco.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
He went to Morocco to pay a visit to the kever of which Rabbi Yitzchak Abutzera. Okay, and
yes,
Yosef,
Rabbi, thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
You too. Hatzlacha Rabbah. Take care, everybody. Avrami, good to see you. Shmuley, Akiva.
Same here. Take care. Have a good day.
Good day. You too. Right, thanks. Akiva, we have. Could you call? Could you call me? You could call me now, Akiva. You could call me right now. I want to talk. Yeah. Can I talk? Yeah. Sure. Thank you very much. Yes.
Rabbi,